Hello everyone, welcome. In previous session, we saw different ways to connect and access the data in GCP CloudSQL instance when we configured with the public IP. Public IP, when we configure public IP to the CloudSQL instance, anyone can access from outside the world. So we can able to access from a cloud shell or local machine or a GCP virtual machine or any cloud virtual machine as well. So we don't have a control, and also it's not much secure when we configure public IP to the CloudSQL instance. So this is the first approach we already see. And when we come to the second approach, we are going to create a private IP when we try to create a CloudSQL instance, and we will try to configure that with the private IP. In this session, we are going to see the steps. How can we create a Cloud SQL instance and we can configure the private IP? To connect to this Cloud SQL private IP instance, we will try to create a GCP virtual machine, and we will connect that Cloud SQL instance. And we will try to create a sample database and table. So these are the three approaches we can see as part of this session. Whenever we try to create any or configure any private IP to the Cloud SQL instance, this Cloud SQL instance is private, and this can be accessible by only the within GCP resources. Like we can create only GCP resources can be accessed to this Cloud SQL. From outside environment, we cannot access this Cloud SQL. We will this is completely private. It is much more secure, especially like in real-time applications. Whenever we create a Cloud SQL, we can configure with the private IP most of the times. Let's jump into the practical. We load into the GCP application. In the left side, we can see the Cloud SQL. Click on Cloud SQL and create instance with the pre-credits. We have 3 flavors supporting by GCP, and we will choose the MySQL instance, select enterprise. We will go with the lower configuration sandbox, and we can select 8.0 as a version, provide instance IP, instance ID. We can make it as a private and we can keep it as a demo. Try to generate a password, otherwise what we can do is we can use our own password also. I'm using my own password. Come to the bottom and we can see the region and journal. Select the region. I'm selecting the region as a US center, and remaining configurations I'll be keeping it as default. If you want more information how the connection Cloud SQL, you can watch my playlist. And coming to the connection part, by default it is a public IP. So we are going to make this configuration as a private IP for this Cloud SQL instance. So make a note of it. Once we assign the private IP to this Cloud SQL instance, we cannot be disabled once it is enabled. So we have to ensure like this point. And by default, we have a default network, and also we can create our own custom networks as well. But as part of this, I'm going with the default. Here we have to set one connection when we select a private IP. Click on setup connection. We need to enable the networking API. So I was done that step. And here by default, automatically we are going to allocate IP range. So we can click on continue. Here, let's try to understand why do we require this setting up connection for private IP. This is our project. This is the GCP demo project. This is our project. And internally, this is a Google tenant project which will be get created. Whenever we do this setup connection for the private IP, the VPC network peering will get created with that the service project. So let's see more on that to practically cancel it, and let's open the VPC network in separate tab. Here we can see the default network. So this is a default network, that is what we selected, and we are not able to see any network peering because we haven't done any setup, right? So let's go back and we will do the setup, click on the setup, and we will proceed further. I'm going to create a connection. So we encountered one problem, like already the private IP got already allocated for this our project. I think we need to go here and we need to use before I was created a default IP range. We can select it or we can allocate a new IP range. Otherwise, if you are doing the first time, you can select use automatically allocated IP range. So I'll be selecting the default IP range and I'll be connecting, and let's create connection. This will take some time to create setting up the connection of private IP. So yes, now the private IP setup has been established with the private IP. Let's set the default, and we will try to create this CloudSQL instance. Yes. Now the CloudSQL instance got created. Let's go back to the VPC network. If we do a refresh, and this is the VPC network peering got created, and this is the feed project ID. And under this is a tenant project. It's a link up with our project. That is what we have shown in the previous diagram. Let's move to the virtual machine. We in the left hand side go to the compute engine and virtual machine instances. We will click on that. We can create an instance. By using this GCP virtual machine, we will try to connect to CloudSQL private IP configuration machine, because this is an internal machine which we are creating inside GCP network. So if we try to access the CloudSQL private IP from outside of the GCP network, then we cannot do that. It is more secure. So let's try to create one MySQL demo VM instance, and we will take any US central, and remaining we can keep it as a default, and we will try to select more a smaller machine. We can go with the micro also fine, and the remaining settings we can make it a default, and we will try to create a virtual machine. If you want more information, you can watch my previous playlist on creating a virtual machine with more details. Yes, virtual machine got created. Now this is the internal IP and this is the external IP. We will be connecting to click on the SSH. Let's authorize. Currently, we don't have any MySQL client or MariaDB installed in our new virtual machine. So to install that client server, we will use sudo apt install MariaDB client. Let's execute this command. It will create dependent libraries so that we can able to connect to the MySQL. Respective libraries got installed. Type MySQL. Let's see if MySQL we can able to connect. Not connect to the local server. It means like MySQL related client has been installed. Go back and connect to the MySQL for the root user. And from here, what we have to do is we have to try connecting to that particular private host from the CloudSQL. Go to CloudSQL connections. From here, we can take the internal IP address. Let's go back to the SSH. We are trying to use MySQL user and root, and this is a private IP which you can view here. This is a private IP of a CloudSQL. we are trying to connect from this machine, SSH machine. Let's enter the password which you entered while creating the CloudSQL. Back. Now we can able to successfully create a MySQL instance. So, and we can able to connect to the MySQL instance. We will try to create a sample table database, and we will insert some data. Use the database HTTP, and we will try to create one sample table. We'll create a orders table, and we can insert the records. We can use the select star from orders. Back. Now we can able to see the data tables. This is the approach, like how can we create a Cloud SQL instance by configuring the private IP, and within the network we can connect from the resources to the Cloud SQL private ID. We cannot connect from the outside world like a Cloud Shell or from the local machine or from other different cloud virtual machines. So it is more secure. Click on exit. We'll get log out. Go back to virtual machines and delete this virtual machine. Now virtual machine instance got deleted. So let's go back to VPC network. But here, before deleting VPC network peering, we must have to delete the Cloud SQL instance. Otherwise, we will face some problems. So let's open the Cloud SQL instance, and we can click on delete. So here the delete button got disabled. So what can we do is we will go back. Here also it's will be disabled, and we can go on edit option. How can we delete this Cloud SQL instance? So for that, go to data protection section, and here we can use this prevent instance deletion should be unchecked, and that is how we can do it, and try to save. Go back. Once this has been edited and saved, so we can able to see the delete option here. So click on the delete and provide the instance name as a Cloud SQL, and copy and paste here. We don't require any backup, so delete. Similarly, we will go back to the VPC network peering, and we can delete this VPC network peering as well. Yes, now VPC network peering also got deleted. Hope this session would help for you.
Thank you all for your support, and it's encouraged me to do more videos to share my knowledge. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.